Inside my head there lives a dream that I wanna see in the sun. Behind my eyes there lives me that I've been hiding for much too long. 'Cause I've been too afraid to let it show. But I'm scared of the judgment that may follow. Always putting off what it is for tomorrow. It's time to step out on faith. I gotta show my faith. It's been elusive for so long. Freedom is mine today. I gotta step out on faith. It's time to show my face. Procrastination had me down. Look what I have found. I found strength, courage, and wisdom. It's been inside of me all along. Strength, courage, and wisdom inside of me. Behind my pride there lives me that knows humility. Inside my voice there is a soul, and in my soul there is a voice. But I've been too afraid to make a choice, 'cause I'm scared of the things that I might be missing. Running too fast to stop to listen. It's time to step out on faith. I gotta show my face. It's been elusive for so long. Freedom is mine today. Step out on faith. It's time to show my face. Procrastination had me down. Look what I have found. I found strength, courage, and wisdom. It's been inside of me all along. Strength, courage, and wisdom inside of me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I close my eyes and I think of all the things that I want to see. 'Cause I know now that I've opened up my heart, I know that anything I want can be. So let it 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 be. Strength, courage, and wisdom. It's been inside of me all along. Strength, courage, and wisdom. It's been inside of me, yeah, all along. Now every day I pray for strength, courage, and wisdom to find, strength, courage, and wisdom inside of me. I found it in me, I found it finally, and I shower to keep it. So I say thank you. I found it.
Listen, I'm gonna say shine about 379,000 times in this song. And it's only because I want you to shine. So, shine. Hey.
I'm leaning on my window pane, ready to holler out my name. wanting the world to hear my voice.
Hello, world.
'Cause I finally made a conscious choice. Now I know why I am here. Joy and love replace my fears. I'm holding on to my bootstraps, and I am not afraid to say that I'm so proud of me. I'm gonna shine, shine, shine. Hey, right where I should be. I'm gonna shine, shine, shine. I hope that you will see, yeah, yeah, that you gotta shine, shine, shine. Somebody say shine, 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 shine. Say shine, shine, shine. It's your time to shine. Living to love and loving life. Oh, worry won't be my 9 to 5. No, 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 no. Hey, I close my eyes and I could see. Yeah. Oh, my eyes would let me see. No, 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 no. Now I know why I now know. Joy and love replace my fears. I'm holding on to my bootstraps, and I'm not ashamed to say that I'm so proud of me. I'm gonna shine, gonna shine, I'm gonna shine. I should be. I'm gonna shine, shine. I hope that you will see. Yeah, 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 yeah. You gotta shine, shine, shine. Somebody say shine, 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 shine. Say shine, shine, shine. It's your time to shine. Now listen, it really is your time to shine. Now wherever you are, in your home or in your car, I want you to say shine, shine. There it is. Shine. So say shine, shine. As bright as I can say shine, 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 shine. Love's creeping out of me. Yes it is. Shine. Say shine. Oh, shine a light on me. For the whole world to shine, 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 shine. Oh, no, no, shine. No, 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 no. Shine. Everybody sing to shine your light on me. Shine. Hey, shine your light on me. I need you. I need you. I need you. Just like you need me. Shine. 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 I'm sweating in here. Shine. All that shine. Shine.
All right, give me another track.
Happy Happy Monday to each of you, and thank you so much for joining our show tonight. We are so glad that each of you have taken the time out of your busy schedule to join us, and we are excited that you are here with us tonight. So, as always, we want you to like, tag, and share, like, tag, and share, like, tag, and share, and invite someone to be a part of tonight's podcast. We have an awesome podcast for you tonight. So, again, we ask that you like, tag, and share. Hello to everyone who's already logged on, and hello to everyone who is tuned on. So, again, we're just asking that you like, tag, and share as we get ready for an exciting podcast tonight. So, everyone who saw the flyer, everyone should know by now, but in case you don't know, my guest tonight is none other than my eldest sister, Monica Martin Fletcher, and I'm so proud to have her on. So, to introduce her to those who don't know anything about her, Monica is a Birmingham native. She has resided in the Georgia area for 23 years now. When I was thinking about it earlier, I didn't realize it had been that long, but it has. And Monica is an accomplished author, relationship mentor. She has wears many hats, and who better to introduce themselves to you? So when I bring her in, we're gonna find out more about her from her, and we're gonna get this conversation started. I am very excited. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, my eldest sister, Monica Martin Fletcher.
Hey,
Hey, hey, how are you?
good. I feel like I ain't seen you in forever.
I know, right?
Listen, I was doing what you were telling the audience to do. So while you were talking, I was liking and sharing and tagging.
But thank you
Oh,
for agreeing to do the show tonight. I'm excited. And before we continue, I know those of you wondering like why is he in all that purple and shades of pink and she's in her pink and you see the caption at the bottom in purple. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this month we celebrate quite a few things. Yesterday was actually World Mental Health Awareness Day, which is a big thing.
mhm,
You know, we talk about that. We talked about it on this show as a lot, and I know Monica, you talked about it a lot on yours.
mhm,
It's always important to know your mental health, even when you think you're okay, because I think one of the worst things that a person can do, and I think you would agree, is walk around on pins and needles, pretending like you're okay and you're really not, and you just wait to the moment where you explode. Y'all, that's not good health wise. That's not good health wise. So sometimes we have to come to a conclusion where we can sit down. It's okay to agree to disagree, but we should never fall out just because we disagree. So I would encourage you, know your mental health state. That is so important. Can't stress that enough. And then also this month we are celebrating Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Shout out to all of those who are surviving this disease every day. Much prayer, much strength, much faith. You'll be hearing us
mhm.
talk about that before the end of the month. And then we also pay tribute. We'll be doing this all month for those beautiful women who have lost their lives due to this disease. So it's just important to, ladies, know your body. And not only should I say ladies, but I'll say men as well, because there's a small fraction of men who are diagnosed with breast cancer. So men and women, it's important to know your bodies. And then lastly, um, and money, your cam went out. Okay. And lastly, we are celebrating Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Celebrating those is not just women anymore. Once upon a time it was, but it's a rising, alarming rate of men who are becoming victims to domestic violence. So, um, can't say enough about that. So that's what we're celebrating. And then we know also this month is the Magic City Classic month. End of the month, I promise you guys, the Monday before the Classic, we're gonna do a special show saluting all HBCUs, but particularly Alabama A&M at Alabama State, which Monica attended Alabama State, so you definitely want to tune in for that. So we'll be making some of these announcements at the end, but I'm excited to get in this conversation. So I'm kind of paying her back. I allowed her to be the special guest host. I think it was something that we did in the fall of last year where we just did a backstage. So she hosted. So she's usually the interviewer on her own show, but I promise you, I'm not gonna beat up on you too hard. We're just gonna have fun, laugh, and talk and share tonight. So to get us started, I know I introduced you, but in your own words, and you're gonna kill me. In your own words, who is Monica Jeanette Martin Fletcher?
Well, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
guys. I had my headphones set on. That's why I went off camera for a second because I thought it cut
Okay.
out.
Okay.
So listen, normally I would so not say this, ladies and gentlemen, because I mean, most of you guys know me from Birmingham. Most of you guys know me from my handsome brother, my gorgeous sister, my ever so debonair parents, and then just my family in general. And so, you know, Most of you guys may not know I am actually a runner now, so I do a lot of exercising now. It was initially because of issues with fibroids and the different things, and so I was out yesterday, JaPaul. You're gonna trip out, and I was like, what if JaPaul asked me, who am I? Like, what do I want to say to the people? What is it that people don't already know about me? And so, if it's okay with you, I wrote something, and this is how I would like to introduce myself to the audience tonight. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, I believe in honor, even though he's my baby brother. I still believe in honor, ladies and gentlemen. Copy that, siblings. Okay. So here's what I wrote to how I saw myself. I don't necessarily see myself still like that now, but this is how I saw myself. And I think that it'll kind of really back up a lot of the conversation that we wanted to have tonight, with our audience.
Okay.
Okay, so I said, Monica, well, at the time I was Martin. So Monica Martin, I dressed up because I didn't want the church leaders to feel like they failed in teaching me. I didn't want my pastor to feel like he didn't hear the word of the Lord. I didn't want my parents to wonder which lessons should have lasted longer. I didn't want my sister and brother to feel that old sibling messed up syndrome. She'll never listen to me because she's the oldest. I didn't want the people who know me to feel like they didn't do enough to safeguard me. So what I did was, as Monica Martin, I dressed up in public, even though I was broken and hurting on the inside. And that's who I was as Monica Martin, which is how most of you guys know me. And so my prayer is that you will take me and JaPaul's conversation tonight. And in order to see who I am now, you had to know who I was and what I was thinking. Because sometimes people forget that in order to move forward, you need to learn, you need to move backwards. So guess what? I am a survivor of domestic abuse. I am I am everything that you would think I was not. And so that's why this was so important to me, because when I put my pen down, I did find my purpose. But now, before today and before I was out running yesterday, I used to be embarrassed to say who I was. But I had to realize, in order for you guys to understand how I got to where I am now, I had to be honest with the people who know me and let them know who I was before. So yes, so that's me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I love it. And so that kind of confirms. So I'm gonna redirect some things, but
Okay.
that was perfect. So I want to start out, and part of the reason why I was actually going back and forth on what to title tonight's show, and a pen and a purpose came to me, and one of the reasons why, um, I think a lot of us, and there are several people on that write. Shout out to our beautiful cousin Sharissa Hughley Jackson, who's also our fellow writer and author, and many others who you may not even have made yourself known. But I think a lot of times when we write, we don't realize there's purpose in the words that we are penning on paper. And when you really understand that, here's the thing. I think sometimes also as writers, we limit ourselves and we pull back on the gift that God has given us because and we'll kind of tell this story a little later on. Like I said, we're just going to kind of flip back. So I would just encourage everyone, whether you're a songwriter, whether you are an author, you may even be a playwright like me, don't hold back on the gifts that God has given you, because guess what? Just as sure as He gives you the gifts, He can take them away. And so we just have to hold fast on that. And here's the thing, you may not master that book, that play, that course book. Even if you're a poet, you may not master it as long as you want, as quick as you'd like to, but with hope, determination, a plan, and a prayer life. Gotta have a prayer life, gotta have a prayer life, gotta have a prayer life. You will master it in His time. And then you can't procrastinate, ladies and gentlemen. You can't
Right.
procrastinate. I didn't even realize it, but both of the songs that I picked tonight during the countdown, they talked about procrastination. So if you missed the countdown, those were two perfect songs I picked tonight, by the way, by India Ari and Avery Sunshine. They're inspirational songs, but they encourage us, no matter where we are in our life. So you mentioned, and I was going to say before the end, domestic violence. Um, you shared that publicly. Thank God you are a survivor. We know that, for others, things turned out different, but thank God you're here to encourage men and women that, there is a way out. So, briefly, because, as we kind of did our pre talk, I don't want the whole show to be a premise of this.
Right.
Kind of in an abbreviated version, kind of like give us, um, in your own words, how did you get into a relationship? And I guess a two-part question: what signs did you see early on?
Well, the funny thing, JaPaul, is that a lot of the stuff that I got into it because I was afraid, because I was a Christian. I
Hmm.
was afraid to say it out loud.
Hmm.
So that was the first thing. When I think back on it, I was in college when I met this guy. I had, moved away from home. I was by myself, didn't really understand the importance of a support system, and total transparency, did not want a support system because at that point I thought I was grown.
Hmm.
And honestly, I thought I could handle it. Now because one thing y'all learn about me and Paul, we just talk real.
Right.
So I can't necessarily say I even wanted a support system because again, at that point, I'm 18, 19 years old. I got this. And so one of my girlfriends who I was roommates with at the time, she said to me, Monica, this person is like buying you a lot of stuff, and y'all just met. But for me, being young and naive, I thought she was being jealous, because at that time, I had a lot of guys in college that, were attracted, and, it's hit or miss, when you didn't, the new kid on campus, so to speak, and then I had a part-time job. And so he made it seem like he was going to make my life easier.
Hmm.
You know, why are you working these long hours? You going to school. You don't have to do this. Let me take care of you. And then don't forget what I said, I wasn't connected to the family at that point. So, nor was I still connected to a ministry either. So let me put that out there. And so it seemed to me like, okay, that's cool. Because he didn't like overwhelm me all at one time, JaPaul. Like he started buying stuff a little bit at a time. And then it kept going and it kept going and it kept going. And so I remember I always kept hearing my friend's voice saying, Monica, this too much. He doing it too fast. But again, y'all know how girls do. Man start taking, you be like, yes, hunty. And again, keep in mind, I was only 18, 19 years old. I think I had just turned 19 when I met this guy. And so that was sign number one. Nobody buys you that much stuff and does not want something in return. And in his case, it wasn't that he wanted me to sleep with him in return. I found out later he wanted control in return. So a lot of young women, especially going off to college, you got to be careful about that because again, that abuse was control. And so then, he asked me to move in with him. My roommate got upset, but again, I just thought she was being jealous. And then it started being little things, which friends you hanging out with today? Where you going? You sure you got to go to work today? Or I would be at work. He would just show up in the middle of his shift. Or I'd be like, weren't you supposed to be at work? Well, yeah, I just checked. I just stopped by to see what you were doing. And I noticed that kept going on and on and on and on. I would be on campus. He would just randomly show up on campus. So there are a lot of signs that I know that I should have recognized. But to be honest with you, I didn't pay it in. I should have paid any attention to it, but I thought I could handle it. Like I thought, man, this dude, I ain't paying him no attention. And so, like I said, the more it went on, I started just brushing it off. Oh, he just trying to be a protective boyfriend. And so the the second sign I got was a young lady who I used to work with at that time.
Hmm.
She was in a uh, domestic, like a long term. And she kept saying, Monica, listen, I need you to pay attention to what's going on. I need you to please pay attention. It's something about this guy. He's coming to see you every day. And then I think the breaking point for me is when he started getting really detailed about asking me about all of my friends, male and female. Like he wanted to know specifics, you know, where they live, like it was really detailed. And I still kind of brushed it off like it was no big deal because I just thought, hey, this my boyfriend. I guess this is what boyfriends do. Because keep in mind, like I said at the beginning, I was receiving some of the lessons, but I didn't necessarily want people to know I wasn't getting the lessons.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so fast forward, moved to Birmingham. I'm older at this point. We had been together for a while. And the breaking point for me to finally say enough is enough, I finally, and most of y'all know my thugged out sister. We were at church, and I think we were singing with the youth choir that day.
Mhm.
And I can't remember if he joined the church. I don't remember what it was. I don't want to say wrong, but he stared at me in that service that literally, I gotta say it was the Holy Spirit, because it was just like, whatever you do, don't go back to this relation. Like, you need to end this right now. And so it took my sister, and we some things transpired. I know Sharissa, Mika is, and some things transpired, and it was not but the grace of God and lots of prayers that I was able to come out of that relationship. Because my brother will tell you, I did not tell my family what was going on. Nobody in my family knew. Nobody in the church knew. None of my friends knew. Nobody knew that I was in this abusive relationship. And this relationship was physical. It was verbal and physical. And the way I finally got out was, we had this huge, like, he pulled a gun on me, the whole 9 yards. His sister at the Clear Blue called and was like, I don't know what's going on. Something just telling me, I knew it was the Holy Spirit. She didn't. She was like, something just telling me to come get you. And, it just things transparent. But during the whole time, I never shared it with the family, because I think for me, I was definitely embarrassed, because I couldn't understand how I allowed myself to get in that situation. But then I honestly didn't know how to get out, because I had never expected to be in that type of situation. And so that's why I'm never hard on men or women when I hear they've been in a situation like that, because it's your mind. It's what your mind says. Your mind says, if you speak up, you're going to embarrass your family. If you speak up, you're going to be all over the church. Like, the enemy will say things like that to make you feel like, well, I'm just going to hold it to myself. I ain't going to hide it and tell nobody. And that's what I did for years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so one question, and then we're going to bring this to a close.
Okay.
The first time there was abuse, because we've seen this played out in a lot of movies, novels, stage plays. The woman or the man, they always say, the first time there was a sign of abuse, oh, he didn't mean it, he's just playing. What was your initial reaction the first time there was a sign of abuse?
You know what's interesting, JaPaul? I never thought about him.
Okay.
Like, seriously, no joke. I only thought about our family. I thought about the people that love me. I thought about, if I tell my daddies and my brother, they're going to kill him. Like, that's the only time he even came up into my thinking.
Because that was the next point of where I was going to go.
Yeah, like, I never thought about him.
For those of y'all who don't know, there is a an 11-year age difference between Monica and I. And so during these times, I was in like middle school.
Yeah.
And so I was in like a senior in high school when she told me. And so I ain't gonna lie, y'all know me, I'm very transparent. After I cussed her out, I said, okay, where is Nigga at? Because these hands were still with it. And even though I'm the youngest out of Monica and Shamika, they prefer to me as their big little brother. I'm their, between mom and dad, I'm their only brother. And so they know I don't care who it is, what it is. That's why they'll tell me things later on. Yeah, I'm that quiet and meek guy. But when it comes to my sisters and really anybody in my family,
Yeah.
no, no, That's why I tell them after the fact. I'm glad you told me that after the fact. And that's just how our entire family is. You mess with one, you mess with all of us. That's
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
that's just how it is.
Yeah.
So to
But you know
bring
what, Paul, I'm sorry. Go ahead, big bro. I'm sorry.
you go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say, when I think about it, and this is something I would encourage women and men who see the signs, don't do what I did. I thought I could handle it. Like I thought I could get myself out of the abuse. You know, I thought that, oh, thank you, Miss Patricia. All God, all God. Hey, Nisha, baby, all God. I thought I could handle it. I really thought that I could get myself out of it, you know. And I think so many men and women do that. We think we can handle it. We think, but then let's be honest. And I know everybody knows somebody, even if it's not yourself. Total transparency.
Mhm.
There are people who are genuinely ashamed and embarrassed, especially right in the church, to admit that they have been in or are in one of those relationships.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So to bring this part of the conversation to a close, what would you say to, because I know that there are a lot of there may be a male or female on now or that will watch the replay. Um, you know me so well, Miss
Yes, you know it, Miss Pat.
But what would you say to that person that's watching tonight or will watch the replay? Um, what would you say to them if they are in this type of relationship now? And let's be honest. I
Okay.
think one thing that we didn't make clear, y'all, guess what? Verbal abuse can be just as bad as physical abuse.
Yep.
A lot of times we don't like to talk about that, but verbal abuse can be just as bad as physical abuse because when you
Mhm.
really love yourself and when you know who you are, Monica said that she got caught up in the material things. That's it for some. There are
Mhm.
differences, but you have to be careful because I don't care if a man has to call you out of your name. No.
Exactly.
So I want
Exactly.
you to speak and what would you say to that male or female that finds themselves in this relationship now?
Well, the ones who are in the relationship right now, it's more than just you asking for help.
Hmm.
Like, because it's more than that. I heard in my mind say 10,000 times, all I got to do is tell somebody.
Absolutely.
I had to finally make the decision to say, I cannot do this. So I had to make a mental decision first before I actually was able to get help.
Absolutely.
Because, yeah, you could have a conversation and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to get out. But mentally, if your mind is not right, and then don't be afraid to talk to somebody. I mean, don't be afraid to talk to yourself and don't be afraid to talk to somebody because there are too many people that have lost their lives because they didn't know how to get out. And listen, and there's a second group of people to this too, JaPaul. Parents, grandmothers, aunts, uncles, grandparents, you know, teach your daughters and your sons like what to look for. If somebody's personality is aggressive, if something, my bishop used to say, go to their family reunion
Hmm.
because everything you need to know about the family, 9 times 10, you're gonna see it at the family reunion. So
Absolutely.
get your mind right. Convince yourself first. Say to yourself, I am more than worth than being treated like this. And do not beat yourself up because I feel like that's what I did. I beat myself up and I stayed in it longer than I should have. But get
Absolutely.
some counseling too. Once you get out, get some counseling.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Hey, David and Monica, I'm finna show you how old you are. This
Okay.
is our neighbor from Ainsley, Miss Jefferson's daughter.
Oh Lord, you are telling my age. Hey, Davina. Y'all know he know I'm gonna get him when we get off the show. Just FYI.
And so here's the thing, and part of the reason why I have various guests on the show too. You're muted, Monica.
Okay, I'm good now, big bro.
Okay.
Okay.
Part of the reason I have these conversations, this is what we have to realize. When you share your testimony, that frees you and that releases you. And guess what? Nobody can hold that over your head. We've all done things that we're not proud of. We've all made some of the not so good decisions. And there are some things you don't tell everything, but when you tell your testimony and it encourages and it empowers others, guess what? There's nothing that anybody else, including the devil, can do to you because you free yourself and you release someone. So I just want each of us to remember that never be afraid or ashamed to tell your story because you never know whose life you are impacting or who you're being a light to. So the next segment of the show, I want to kind of flow into. We got a lot, but we're gonna get all this in
Okay.
20. I'm excited. So transitioning to the role of author, and one thing I can say, me and Shamika, we talk about this all the time. Have to give a shout out to New Hope because that was the place for a lot for us.
Yes.
They pulled out of us even when we didn't want to do.
Yup.
And I'm sure we got irritated then, but look where it's paid off in all of our lives. So,
Mhm.
kind of talk about the transition to like maybe thinking that you could be an author.
Absolutely. And big bro, before we do that, I saw two comments on here. If you don't mind, can we put because what Tanisha said is so that's one that ties into why I start writing. Like, what Nisha said. Yeah, she go ahead, babe. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll give you.
Okay.
I was doing it with you.
Okay. And then Nisha, I just want you to know the 12-year-olds and what I hear and see now, you guys will be surprised. Abuse now is not starting at 18 or 19 years old. It's starting at 10. I know of stories 10-year-olds. Like Nisha said, she talks to her 12-year-old because they are already seeing it, whether it be in school with a parent. We have so many incidences that we've heard of, so it's really never too young to talk to your children about, looking at the signs of verbal and physical abuse. So Tanisha, thank you. And I'd like to encourage a lot more families to follow her lead. Stop thinking that because your kids are young, it's not happening to them. That is
Absolutely.
so not true. Me and JaPaul see the research all the time, all the
Absolutely.
time. And then Leandria, I know if you wanted me to look at her, she asked, I think we answered, what can you do if you know someone is being abused? Okay. Let me, I can definitely answer that. Leandria, my friend in college, she knew, um, she didn't come right out and ask me, but she was constantly popping up over at the apartment. She was constantly, even his sister, now that I think about it, they would constantly pop up, just to be there, because sometimes just knowing somebody is going to show up kind of causes the abuser to rethink what they do because they don't want nobody to know they're abusing either.
Mhm.
And so my friends and his sister, they would constantly like invite us to go out with other people. Like it was rare that, especially when I think one of my friends in college really suspected it. Like she was constantly saying, "Hey y'all, why don't we all go out together?" And I think she was doing that so she can kind of see, how he interacted with other people. So I
Absolutely.
would definitely encourage you, if you know someone is being abused, first of all, pray. You got to pray and ask God to help you how to approach that person. Because again, like I said, a lot of people who, my mom used to always say, you don't look like, what you're going through. I didn't look like I was being abused. I was, but I didn't look like it because I had figured out how to hide it. So if you do have someone, just make sure, pray about and ask God how to help you to approach them. But do pop-ups, call, hey girl, I was right down the street. What you doing? Even though you're right outside their front door, girl, what you doing? I'm right outside the door. Okay, I'm finna come in.
Absolutely.
Just do some little pop-ups, and that the person who's doing the abuse, that throws them off.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Okay,
yeah,
JaPaul, thank you
here's
for.
another thing. Take advantage of all this technology and social media that was out. Social media
Yes.
was not out during this time. Because you can correct me if
Hmm.
I'm wrong. I think this was like in 96,
Yeah.
97, 98.
Hmm.
So, Facebook Messenger, I'm just saying, Instagram,
Hmm.
text messages,
Hmm.
this stuff is made handy for a reason. And even these apps, I know Sprint and Verizon have them, those search and protect apps. If you're on there and you have family members, those apps can actually save lives. So
Yes.
take advantage of all of these measures that are out that could save our friends and our loved ones.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So y'all, I
Great
see y'all.
questions. Great questions.
Absolutely. I see y'all coming about the book. We're
I
not,
know we had
but we're gonna
it.
post those when we start talking about the book. Promise you, promise you, promise you. But y'all keep posting questions or comments, and we're definitely gonna try to get as much in as we can before we conclude the show. So, back to you being an author. When did you realize that, hey, I think this is leading into me just writing just for therapy and just to release some things until the world needs to hear what I have to say? When was that moment for you?
You said something so important, JaPaul, because, at New Hope, we weren't given the option,
Right.
you know, to not speak. And
We
so
were
for me,
volunteering.
before, yeah, we're voluntold all the time. So for us, like it really didn't start out as writing; it started out as talking.
Hmm.
And so I can still see Miss Sarah Montgomery mean mugging me now, telling me I was gonna talk about this or do this, or Grandma Gertrude saying, well, I don't care if you scared, just look at the back wall back there, or standing up doing youth day speeches, or Women's Day speeches. So for me, it didn't start out as writing, it started out as conversation.
Absolutely.
And then when it got to the point where I realized that this is a very tough time if you are a church kid,
Hmm.
because I mean, really, y'all, there was a lot of discretion we have in church. And now I think what bothers me so much, I'm not knocking social media because I don't know, I've been on here doing videos and promoting things. I just think that stuff is so out there now that as the church, we gotta talk about it because
Absolutely.
you know, we got to. And so that
Absolutely.
was my motivation. I sat down one day, I said, okay, when did like this life oh, okay, see, Nisha was right there with us. I said to myself, when did life look different for me? When did it look different? Because I was, we were raised in the church. We have a fantastic family. We're a small family, but we had a great family. On
Absolutely.
daddy's side, we have a large family. So, but that's what I sat down one day and asked myself, when did life change for me? And so when I thought back on it, I realized it was the grief of a really good friend of mine. I had a friend that passed away. And right then, that's when I start making all those decisions. That's why I started like living outside of who I was, living out my character, not really being, and it kind of started a little bit before that. So I'll just say kind of like my maybe junior year of high school. And then when my friend passed away right after we graduated from high school, I was just gone. Like mentally, my mind was just like, I'm done. I don't want to hear about God. I don't care how we were raised. I'm just gone. So I can say grief is what made me finally pick up a pen.
Absolutely.
And, even though I was away from the family for a long time, I still was writing down. Like I was writing how I was feeling, what I was doing, how I missed this, what happened here, how did I get to this space? And so, because a lot of that started for me when I went off to college, I was away from my connection. I was
Absolutely.
writing like a fool, JaPaul. I was writing everything. And I guess in a way that was my therapy, even though I didn't realize it, but it was like either write or bust a hole in the wall.
Absolutely.
And I chose to write.
Absolutely. So
Mm-hmm.
let's go back. Oh, and that's been years ago. This book is out of print. We're both working to see what can we do to bring a version back, because I always think your first book, it's always gonna hold value, special value, because it's
Mm-hmm.
your first. So your very first book, and gosh, I don't even remember the year.
Me
That's been
either.
a long time. That's been a long time.
Yeah.
But you shared your own story, and then you interviewed a group of women that you met in Atlanta at that time.
Mhm.
Kind of talk about where you were as a writer then to where you
Mhm.
are as a writer now.
Originally, when I started writing, it was just a pastime. It was just, I'm having these feelings, I'm having these emotions, and I don't know what to do with them. And so it was not physically for me to, I was trying to find a solution to a problem.
Mhm.
Like, why did I start living with my boyfriends? Why did I, why did I thought this was the norm? So it was originally me looking for an answer.
Gotcha.
And then as I started looking for that answer, I started meeting other people. And I knew that was a God moment because it wasn't like I went searching. They came to me, you
Absolutely.
know. And so we just had started having conversations, started having dialogue. So really the first book probably had 9,000 grammar errors because, because it wasn't about me writing a book the first go around. It was just about I had so many people wanting to talk about shacking up and nobody was talking about it in the church. Let me
Absolutely.
clarify. People were talking about it, but they weren't talking about it in the church. And every single person that I interviewed in that first book were all raised in the church just like me. And so what I did was, so sometimes when you talk about your truth, everybody ain't gonna like your truth.
Mhm.
And so my first book, not in our family, but on another side of my family, that truth kind of struck a nerve. And so I had to make the decision because I wasn't going to stop telling the story because I knew there were a lot of faith-based people that needed to have these conversations. Oh, yes, ma'am, all day long.
And it's
And
funny you
so,
mentioned that, Leandria. I want to interject.
mhm. Go
Um,
ahead, babe.
Abuse is real. I don't know how many of you saw the unsung with David Ruffin, but when I saw your post, Leandria, he was the first one that came to my mind. For
Hmm.
those who didn't see that unsung, it was no secret. Very abusive in his relationships. I think he was even abusive to two of his older children. Well, what was addressed in that unsung, his father actually abused him, I think, with the belt that you use when you saddle a horse.
Yeah.
So just imagine a child being abused like that. And during that era, because I've heard, all of my grandparents and great aunts say, if you were told to do something, whether even my parents have said that, whether you
Yeah.
were told to do something and you didn't like it, you didn't talk back. And
That's right.
so, without him, without anyone in his generation ever saying, well, David, your dad is abusing you, but don't you carry on that same characteristic? If no one ever told him that and he thinks it's okay, he's going to take it in every course of our area. That's why it's so important when you see someone doing wrong. First of all, you can't talk to some people like that. But if you
Right.
can call them out, please, by all means, ladies and gentlemen, don't hold back.
Yep.
Don't hold back because there
Yep.
are enough situations going on in the world. You just think about it. If someone was bold enough and strong enough to address a situation where you could have called that person out, that situation may have turned out totally, totally different.
Yep. And it's so funny. If I can add this too, big bro, mothers with young sons, the reason that the conversations are so important to have when kids are younger, because
Mhm.
moms with young sons and grandsons younger, you need to see most boys grow up playing with, soldiers and so they play a lot of stuff that brings conflict and war. But if
Absolutely.
you're not teaching them that they're not supposed to teach a girl that, treat a girl that way, you can't. Me and JaPaul talk about this all the time. This is a core of who I am. You can never assume that somebody's gonna know the right way or the wrong way to do them.
Absolutely.
The only thing you can do is just teach them and just assume they're going to follow your teaching.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, like I said, we're gonna be shifting gears, but let's go back to you being an author. So after that first book, Monica even wrote a children's book. That's something else that we're working on. It was a great book, The Adventures of Pookie Doo. And so, um, your last book before The House That Never Fails. Correct? Help me with the title again.
Just sex is not a relationship.
Yes, sex is not a relationship. So in that book, Naomi Jean is introduced, and we both know inspiration behind Naomi Jean. Y'all just have to read these books. We can't give
Yeah,
everything
'cause I
away.
tell my brother everything. So
We can't give away everything live. But reading that book, it was like, because, and I'm like I said, we're kind of fast forwarding. That book, Monica totally surprised me on, because when she sent the book to me to read, I said, you a lie. I said, you ain't write this doggone book. I said, why
he
you?
so told me that,
I
ladies and
did.
gentlemen.
I did. I
Yeah.
did. I said, you ain't finna have these
Mhm.
folks out here deceiving these people. I'm like, who helped you write this book? I need to know. And she was like, no, it was actually me. And to see the book, to see the response from the book, like I said, to see the growth from where she was the first place, because it was a fictitious book. And for those who
Mhm.
don't know, fiction books are some of the hardest books to write. I know it may appear that they are easy
Yes.
because you're creating different characters, but I can relate, because for those who think that playwriting is easy, it's not, because when you have all those voices, I'm sure you can relate, Mom. You
Yes.
have all those voices in your head, and sometimes you have to turn those voices off. But it was a great book. Kind of talk about the shift with Just Says It's Not a Relationship.
Well, originally when I started the two projects, JaPaul, and I'm getting ready, y'all pray for me. Me and JaPaul getting ready to start on project number 3. But when I first, total transparency, when I first started the series with Naomi Jean, um, you know, everything is generational, like
Mhm.
Leandria said. And I prayed and I was like, okay, Lord, this stuff is this is my conversational prayer. See, y'all, I talk to God just like me and JaPaul sitting here talking. I said, God, I'm tired of the enemy winning. Like, I'm tired of the enemy getting, he's either convincing people in the church that nobody will talk about it, or he's making it look so pretty that you don't think anything is wrong with it.
Absolutely.
So I was like, give me a story that's going to blow people's minds, because again, they know I'm a little church girl from Birmingham, Alabama. And, I come from a fantastic family, but there are real people that are hurting.
Hmm.
So give me a fictional way to reach that audience, because they have a desire to be saved just like us. They have a desire to be redeemed, you know and so that's how I came up. And so when we laughed, when this Naomi Jean character came to me, I was like, God doggone it. Yeah, me and Paul talked about her personality and everything. But JaPaul's right. I did not tell him what I was writing about. And then when I sent him, he was like, stop playing with me. Like, he just, and then when I sent him this last book, it was just kind of like, okay, you know what? Because I tell him everything, but I had to get on a space where it had to be about, for me, I'm so happy to have been delivered, and I am an exception to the rule. A lot of people can tell you, my brother can tell you this year, I celebrated my birthday for a whole entire month. I've never did that. And this is the first time. We had just finished the project. I just finished with the publishers. And I was like, it is so true. Millions didn't make it through
Absolutely.
physical abuse,
Absolutely.
through a near rape, when I was in college. There are so many things that I know, some things I'll never say out loud, but I made it. And I knew that was nothing but the grace of God. So it has become my official passion to write books that may make faith-based people feel uncomfortable, but at the same time, you can direct your young people and your college students, and even parents and grandparents who don't know how to talk to children. You can direct them. There's something you can direct them to read. So the primary purpose of my books was to open up dialogue.
Absolutely.
That was it.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So now we're on the present book, The House That Never Fails. So before we start the dialogue, I am going to go ahead and put the comments.
Okay.
Trisha said she's enjoying reading the book. She's on page 74.
Nice.
Miss Pat, I
Me
want
too.
you to
Me too, Miss Pat.
Miss Pat, I want you to text Monica and I once you get to the conclusion.
Because we thought about something on exactly what you said.
And then Tanisha as well.
Yeah, thank you, Nisha. One of
And
my biggest supporters from day one. I love her to life.
and then we're actually going to post the link how you can purchase the present book before we end the show. And thank you to everyone who's already purchased and those who are continuing to purchase. Y'all know how I am about local authors. We have to support them. We have to
Yeah.
support them, and I'll talk more about that and tell you why at the end of the show.
Well, Big Bro, can I add this real fast too?
Mhm.
One of the reasons that this project was so important to me and my brother, because I don't do any writing project without my brother being involved. I don't tell him everything, but I do. He's the one and only person that knows anything of what I'm writing about. And
Mhm.
so one of the reasons, thank you, Mama. That's my boo and my twin. One of the reasons that we wanted to encourage everyone, I didn't want people to be encouraged to buy the book just because it was me.
Right.
My brother, like he said, we are proponents of local authors, and God has blessed me to work with this huge publisher. And my brother will talk about it a little bit more at the end of the show. And so that's why we are trying to get these books purchased through the publishing company so it can open a door for other local artists, because they do track.
Absolutely.
They do monitor. And so my brother will definitely give y'all a little bit more information about that at the end of the show. But I definitely wanted to just kind of put that little piece in there. Just some food for thought as to why we're encouraging people to support the new project.
So the house that never fails. Without giving too much away in a brief, and kind of hold up the book. She is holding it in front of her, as you can see. Yeah, and can you kind of zoom in on that
Yeah.
beautiful artwork? But like I said, I'll kind of
Chosen by my brother.
so kind of talk about the inspiration behind this book and give us a brief synopsis about the book.
Okay, so let me tell you guys. So as you know, we talked about Naomi Jean and Just Sex is Not a Relationship. So I would encourage you guys, if you haven't purchased that book, go on my website or Amazon. But most, you can hit the link right on my website, just monicamartinfletcher.com, because in order to understand The House That Never Fails, you got to read the background about the family dynamic. And so what we did was I kind of pulled a character from Just Sex is Not Relationship. And then that's how I came up with The House That Never Fails. It's got to be something to this title. My brother can tell you, I prayed about the title, prayed about where to send it for the publishing. Like, I really fasted and really listened to God on this project. That's how I knew it was going to be for somebody. And then those of you who have read the book so far, I know, like with Toya, y'all know this is so not me again. This is so not me. It's not me. I mean, it's not what people would typically think of my writing style, but it's a necessary style. So The House That Never Fails kind of put me in the mind of me having a conversation with my niece. And it's not me. Let me put that out there. But if I had lived this particular lifestyle, if I had made what most people perceived as terrible choices, drinking too much, sleeping with different men, shaming my, faith-based family, not being respectful to my mom, what would that conversation look like, and then on top of that, I got to encourage my niece not to make the same choices that I'm making, even though technically I don't really see anything wrong with my choices. And so that's how I pulled these two characters, and I was like, but I had to give them the dynamic for what we're seeing in the world today. And then those of you who haven't read the book, check this out. When you read the book and when you get to the end of the book, you're going to be like, shit up. Because I'm going to tell you, at the end of the book, it's all God's grace. But guess what? I had to give this person real life, real scenarios, real situations. I had to, I had to address how, they lost their relationship, not necessarily with the church per se, but with the idea of church,
Mhm.
And then I got to try to save this niece before she goes astray because she don't see nothing wrong with what she doing either, you know. And it's a part of the book. It's a good clap back. That's one of my favorite parts. The auntie tried to tell the niece something, and guess what? The niece clapped right back. Like, how you trying to tell me? And you doing the same thing. So it's really, there is a special bond a lot of times. And those of you who are aunts and even uncles, my nieces and my nephews, I am very blessed as an auntie because there are conversations that they'll have with me to find out the best way to talk to their parents. And so that was where my heart was when I wrote this book. Like, what would this story look like if these two people were me and my niece? Like, what can I do? I'm living this way, but what can I do to keep her from living that way? And so it's basically it was a conversation between two people, but it was spelled out as an entire story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when I tell y'all, it's a great book. And here's one thing that I would encourage those who read it: don't read it one sided. Don't read it
Right.
one sided, but definitely keep an open mind. There are moments of suspense. There are moments I just can't say enough about it.
You
And
remember
this
we
was
shocked our editor. Remember the editor we had?
absolutely,
We
absolutely,
shocked her. And
absolutely.
remember she gave us an angle that we were like, why you get mad at him? Like she brought so our editor brought a total different perspective to the book than what me and Paul was like, huh?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But this is definitely a good read. Like I said, I'll go ahead. Actually, let me go ahead and do that now.
Okay.
I've already posted Monica's website in the link if you want to purchase Just Sex Is Not a Relationship. And then right now I am posting the um website. And so why I'm doing that, as Monica stated, let me let this cat out the bag because I wasn't gonna say that and I was contemplating. So part of the reason why I am okay, so I'll actually have to do that on Facebook because I think the link is too large that it won't let me post it. So definitely at the conclusion of the show, I'll post the link. So
It's on
part of
there. I
the,
see it. It just popped up.
okay, so
Okay.
part of the reason why when it comes to Monica's business ethics and my mom's business ethic, y'all didn't know this, but I'm their business manager. And so the push, it's a great push. Um they both have allowed me to put them on platforms that they would not be on because they both will tell you um Monica didn't want to go live. And originally when mom started, she didn't want to go live, but for those of you who don't know, I'm a marketing and advertising guru, so I believe that the only way people are gonna know what you do, you got to put yourself out there. And sometimes that means doing some things that you had not planned on doing to do. And so I do thank them both for trusting me to take their businesses to the next level. And sometimes with both of them, we don't see eye to eye sometimes. And what's so funny with both of them, because they're so much alike, I have to say this. And the mama still watch, she's gonna get a kick out of this. I can say something and they'll come back like an hour later. Well, you know what? You was right. That does make sense. And I won't
You
say
do.
anything. I'll just smile. But one thing I can say,
Mhm.
it's a blessing to have family members that don't take you for granted, but trust your wisdom and expertise to see their business grow. So this is definitely a book. And Leandra, we'll talk about that in a minute. She's asking about a book signing, but we have something in the works. And no, it won't be a physical book signing, but it will be virtual. So that's something we'll be talking about um before the show ends. And so
I was gonna say right there, JaPaul, if you don't mind, if it's okay.
okay,
For those of you guys, unfortunately, I'm not gonna be at home for a good reason,
right.
but I will be in Birmingham this weekend. So for those of you guys who have already bought the book, just reach out to JaPaul, message JaPaul,
Absolutely.
and I will definitely make myself available so I can sign it for you. Um, and JaPaul will give you some more details. Like I said, we're working on some other stuff, but right now we are really just pushing with the publisher to get as many sold through the publisher as possible so that we can work on some other things. But yes, I will definitely be in Birmingham this weekend. So you guys, just like I said, with my family in Birmingham, just reach out to my brother and we'll coordinate this weekend so I can get it signed for you.
Absolutely. And so, and going back to what Monica was talking about earlier, the publishing company, I know a lot of you are saying, well, why can't I purchase the book from her directly? Why can't I purchase from Amazon? Here is what a lot of times we don't realize. Amazon is great. Don't get me wrong. Monica, I think you still have a book on there,
Mm-hmm.
and several local authors have books on there. The fees that Amazon takes, it is unbelievable. And if you're trying to promote yourself as a local author, you can sometimes end out spending more than you make. And so this publishing company, Archway Publishing, they are a reputable publishing company, formerly Simon and Schuster. I know a lot of my avid readers on here, you have purchased books from Simon and Schuster. And so Archway, the book will be available on Barnes and Nobles, and I'm going to stop there because I can't even begin to name all the places where you can
Yeah.
purchase the book. So sometimes for those who are considering writing or you're already writing, sometimes you have to take that faith move to go a different route. If the book is going to put you on a larger platform than you may have mentioned, because the great thing about going with a company such as Archway Publishing, for our family that lives in California, New York, Illinois, that's one less thing Monica has to worry about getting the book to them directly. They can go through Archway and they can mail the book to them directly. So again, if you click on that link, it will take you directly to the book. It's easily processed to purchase the book, and you're gonna enjoy the book. And Leandra says she's gonna start a book club. That's a great.
And
That's,
I will, when
yeah,
you started, Leandra, let me know, and I will make myself available. We'll look at it either way. We'll see if we can do a virtual, or we'll see if I can actually come home and do especially the first one with you in person.
that's a great idea.
Mhm.
So in the last few minutes of the show, let's talk about relationship mentor. Like I said, you wear um, many hats, and I know that a large percentage of the viewing audience, they are avid tuners into what was formerly wind down love moments. And tonight, this will be the first time that it's kind of publicly been introduced. So y'all get a chance to hear something that we really haven't gone public with. So that's the extra plus for you joining in tonight. So kind of talk about the shift with you being a relationship mentor.
Well, originally, when we started doing the videos, like I said, that was my brother get me comfortable, being on the social media platform and really just getting out there to see what people wanted to talk about in relation to relationships. And so we originally, we start talking about shacking up, we start talking about dating, we start talking about how to overcome from a breakup. We had ladies nights, we had a great amount of dialogue. And then towards the end, what I found out, ladies and gentlemen, is that it kept coming to me that so many daughters in the ministry, so many sons in the ministry, there were no longer, like back when I was in college, there used to be student ministries, you know, even a lot of churches, used to have student ministries and campus ministries. And even when I was in college, they even had, like, sometimes we would have like quarterly meetings at the dorm where we would talk about things like dating and, they talked about everything, date, rape. They talked about everything, but that platform has seemed for some kind of reason to have faded away. And so I started towards the end of the show, start inviting young ladies who went off to college for their first and second year. And then when JaPaul and I were having background conversation with them, it was kind of like, okay, well, Miss Monica, can you start doing this for us? Because the tough reality is, and I know we don't like to hear this, y'all, but I gotta say it. The tough reality is that the enemy typically starts attacking females who have not lost their virginity, who haven't really dated. He starts attacking us around that 17, 18-year-old pathway because he knows pretty soon we're going to be away from our parents. This is including young ladies who even went, like I have one college student, she was still in the state with her parents. She just moved away from home and was on campus.
Hmm.
They don't know. They don't know. They're like, nobody talked to them. So a lot of them are now unfortunately questioning their sexual identity. A lot of them don't even understand. I keep hearing the terminology thrown around called sexual urges. They don't understand that. And the toughest punch in my stomach was they feel like we don't want to talk about it as the church. They feel like church is for people who are already perfect. And like my mom used to say all the time, honey, that is so far from the truth, but that's the perception that they have. So that's the arena I'm moving into now, y'all. I'm trying to save our daughters. I ain't gonna be able to get all of them, and I'm gonna need some of y'all help doing it, but I'm gonna at least get the conversation started. Yeah, so I'm trying to save our daughters before they go to college, and while they're in college, I'm trying to mentor them, to give them a space to be able to be nervous, to be scared, to be fearful, but have someone they can log in online and to be able to talk about it. And they
Absolutely.
can call me. A lot of them even have my telephone numbers.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And kudos to you publicly. We talk about it doing private for doing that because I don't think what the church realizes, a lot of our millennials, youth, young adults that are walking away from the church, we don't really realize what's happening. The news is showing us we're not listening
Yeah.
because a lot of times these age brackets feel like no one listens. They will steal away, and it's a sad reality. A lot of these are they end up committing suicide.
Yeah.
And if we just think about if someone took the time to listen, notice I didn't say give them direction because I can listen to you all day and I may not be the best person suited to give you direction, but I can say, you know what? I hear you. I'm not the best person, but let me give you someone to talk to. And then we have to stop judging, y'all. We have
Yeah.
to stop judging. I know even, I'm a 80s and a 90s baby. A lot of things that my niece and nephew deal with, sometimes I have to catch my breath, but
Mhm.
I'm never going to be that uncle that shies them away or brushes them off because I can't relate. So it's all about finding a common place and bridging that gap and being able to have that conversation, even sometimes if it is uncomfortable.
You
So,
know what's interesting? Um, and this is why I have such a passion about this, because I didn't come back into my relationship with Christ. I did it because of people like testimonies of Miriam.
mhm,
Miriam talked about her own brother and caught that plague, and Lord had to show her grace. you
absolutely.
know I came back. The testimonies that helped me was David. I mean, David was a worshiper out of this world, but some people would perceive David as, I mean, dang dude, you took the man's wife out, like,
Absolutely.
just so those are the people that I was able to relate to. And let's just go a little deeper than that. Even Jesus went in the temple and turned over tables.
Hmm.
So you don't live that life, but sometimes with these young people in this generation, it's just good for them to have somebody to relate to. And
Absolutely.
so, when I share stories, I share, because I would have been, who was it, Paul? Help me out. Was it Moses or Abraham? Jesus told him, like, what did he tell him to tap he hit the rock. I'm trying to remember. I'm sorry, my story done went blank. Because see, I'd have struck the hell out of that rock. Whatever Jesus told me to do, I would have did just the opposite. So, but I said all that to say, that's how you get this generation
It
to
is.
relate to what you're trying to say. Don't just show them the pretty, nice things in the Bible. Show them some of those people that God had to show grace to.
Absolutely.
Because, like, and Leandra is so right. Depression right now, it's and it's the sad part is, y'all. Here's the saddest part, because me and JaPaul do this research when we used to do my shows. A lot of the depression comes from their sexual identity. They were bullied about their identity. That should I sleep with this boy? Should I sleep with this girl? I dealt with that in the book. Some of y'all didn't catch the subliminals. The young lady was trying to debate. She wanted to make her boyfriend happy. So she did some other things that a lot of us in church don't like to talk about, but it's happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so we got to get to a point. Thank you, Nisha. Right. Moses struck the rock. See, I'd have kicked the rock. I'd have did all, but God still showed these people grace. And so for this generation, those are the Bible stories that we need to be telling. Those are the ones we need to but JaPaul says something so important. That's what I do as a relationship mentor. When you sign up with me, when you take on my services, I'm going to do more listening than talking. Because
Mhm.
one thing I found out about this generation, they know the answer
Right.
because they are exposed to social media, their friends, their own thoughts. They have access to so much stuff, but sometimes they still need to hear themselves say it out loud. And like JaPaul said, they don't feel like we as the church give them that opportunity. They feel like we just want to hear them out, give them an answer, keep it moving. God said it. We believe it. That settles it. That's not working for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, as we prepare to come to the close, I've definitely enjoyed this session. Any final words that you'd like to leave with our listening audience?
Yes, let me tell you guys something, and JaPaul will tell you I'm like so not this person, but I just feel like so many young people will be blessed by these books. It's like I said, it's a fictitious story. It talks about the generations, but more importantly, it opens up a dialogue.
Mhm.
And if you are not comfortable with the dialogue, then send them to me. Go on my website. You can have the friends and family discount, because I just want these kids. I just, I want them to know there are choices. They have choices and they don't have to stay stuck in situations, simply because they didn't know. One of the things, one of my favorite scriptures, and I put it in there. I think I even put it, I got to look myself because I think I put it in the inside of the book. Train up a child the way they
Mhm.
should go. Proverbs 22:6 was my motivation for writing this book, because one of the areas that we have failed this generation is we assume that they automatically know. We assume they're going to understand sex. We assume they're going to understand sexual urges. We assume they're going to understand that they are supposed to be or were created as a male and or a female. We assume that they have all the answers. And just because they have access to social media and more things that we had access to, we still cannot assume that they'll get the answer. So go
Absolutely.
get this book. Like my brother said, please share it, tag as many people as you know. We want your feedback on it. Please, 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 please have this. Everybody share the site for our Archwell, because again, we want to get more local authors. Even though I did self-publishing with them, there was some costs I incurred, but let me tell you something. I had to get pre-approval. They had to prove the manuscripts.
Mhm.
Like it was just like pulling teeth. JaPaul can tell you, at one point I was like, oh my God, why did I start this project? But it was a learning process. But yes, get this book out there, get it in the hands, get both books, get them in the hands. Thank you to everybody who has supported me from the beginning of time, to Nisha, Toya, thank y'all so much. I don't want to get into calling names because I don't want to get in trouble. Thank you to my handsome brother. I love you to life. Like I said, y'all make sure y'all get with my brother if you want me to sign this weekend. And just thank y'all so much for the support, because support is what keeps us going. Support is what keeps my brother writing his magnificent plays. Support is what keeps my mom going with her jewelry business. Support is what we leave. And we love you too, boo. Sorry, y'all, I had to act silly when I see my mama.
And so as we prepare to close, 2014, I actually surprised Monica. I'm good at that. I actually turned her first book. Based a play off of that, Comfort and Joy. So I'm actually working now That is one of the plays we're looking to bring back. So I ain't gonna tell y'all nothing about it. Y'all just have to
He ain't.
stay tuned. So you will know when I know. How about that? But
Yes.
we definitely keep up to date. And so before we close, this is something I'm gonna keep going. We gotta give you the hot fry question. So as y'all
Oh
know,
Lord. Okay.
there's nothing like some good old hot fries. Monica loves fries from Chick-fil-A.
Yes, God. Whew. No salt. Okay, I'm sorry. I have
Absolutely.
a flashback. I'm sorry. Okay.
Let's get it. LA or Detroit?
Definitely LA.
Chicken or fish?
Ooh, fish all day long, child.
Flight or road trip?
Flight. I don't want to drive.
Girls trip or a day with your husband?
Girls trip. Toya, did you hear that? Girls trip.
Favorite movie?
Ooh. You know what? Gladiator.
That's a good one.
I love that movie.
Would you rather go back in time or be frozen in time?
Child, let me tell you something. I'm going back in time because some of the stuff I done learned about the stock market, I felt would never have to work. You see, I already said the why.
Absolutely, absolutely. And before we close the show tonight, I do want to give big kudos. We did not do a show on last week because of Facebook's bloopers, and I wasn't sure we were able to go live. I'm just going to be honest. I know that everything was working, so that's why we didn't come on. But the week before, we featured Jonathan J.T. Moore and Latanya Tate. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to announce that they are Counselor elect Jonathan J.T. Moore and Counselor elect Latanya Tate. Kudos to them. They will assume the seats on District 4 and 9 for Birmingham City Council. I think they'll be sworn in at the end of October. And then also kudos to Jason Nettles. He ran with a landslide the District 9 school board seat. And then also kudos to Sherman Collins for winning the District 1 school board seat. So change is on the horizon. And like I always say, if you didn't vote, don't comment on this stuff when we talk about these shows. And for those who did vote, do like we always ask you to do. Hold these people accountable because that's the only way that we're definitely going to make a difference. And to learn more about Monica, you can follow her on Facebook. She's under Monica Martin Fletcher, the relationship mentor. Instagram, monicajmfletcher.com. Her website, monicamartinfletcher.com. And again, the website to purchase her newest book, Archway Publishing. The direct link has been purchased in the link. And then also to find out more information about us, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram and also our YouTube channel. We're in the process of designing a brand new website, which we hope to bring to you all very soon. So to end this show, I always like to leave you with inspirational nugget. Being great was never easy, but to achieve greatness, you have to put in the work, put in the time, and put in the necessary talents. And again, you have to have a prayer life to develop that greatness. As always, keep the faith, and we will see you all next Monday, same time, same place, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for episode 50 of Perspective. Have a great evening.
Mwah, mwah. Do like mama. Mwah, 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 mwah.